So Tom, thanks for being here. And could you do us a wee favour, first of all, and for anybody that doesn't know you or your music, give us a wee background, maybe from the very start, from growing up with a bit of music to where you're at now.
Well, Sarah Makem, of course, is my maternal grandmother. And my mother, Mona Makem, was a very fine fiddle player and singer. And like all the Makems, she learned an awful lot of songs from her mother. And then when we were growing up, my mother sang all those songs in the house. My grandmother sang all the songs, and you couldn't help but learn them. You learned them by osmosis almost, before you knew it. At the age of 20 or 21, you knew 100 or 200 songs all in your head, But my grandmother, Sarah Makem, was a brilliant resource for music. She was what they call a source singer. People came from across the world to hear her. She had so many songs, people came from across the world to hear her singing and to tape her singing. All the different people from folklore departments at universities in America and Europe and all would come to hear her singing. And then when we were young, my mother's brother, Tommy Makem, became very famous with the Clancy brothers. They'd been out in New York and they became famous, and we just began to sing all the old songs that we knew. And then there was a kind of a folk music revival in the 1970s, and then we went off to live in Canada and the States and play there for many, many years. And now I'm old and grey and full of sleep and nodding by the fire.
And how easily do those tunes, can you recall those tunes?
It's very funny you say that, Matt, because Sarah Makem had a great gift, and many great gifts, but one of her great gifts was she could remember, she had great recall, and she could learn things, songs and poems very, very quickly. And I must have inherited that, because I couldn't remember any equation from school or any, but I can remember songs and ballads and poems, and I would learn them very quickly, and I would generally never forget them once I did learn them,
Where was Sarah getting her songs from?
Well, Sarah's mother, and all of Sarah's uncles and aunts on her mother's side, they were called the Greens, and they were known as the singing Greens of Cady, and they all had fabulous songs. Sarah's mother had fabulous songs, and when Sarah was a young girl, you must remember too, Matt, in those days there was no TV or radio, people just sang, and I think your ear was more attuned to what was being said, what was being sung. There were no distractions, and she just learned so many songs from her mother and from her aunts and different people. I mean, there would be a dance song down outside the market house in Cady, and there'd be old people there singing, and she would just learn songs from them, or travellers passing through the town, she would learn songs from them. But the great gift was being able to remember them quickly.
Quickly, I think, is the key, because you hear of people, hearing, maybe I got this song when I was at this festival or that, and I mean, you realise that it wasn't that they had a chance to sit down with them for 3 or 4 hours.
That's
it was
right.
Literally somebody sang it, and you had to
learn it. Well, it's a great gift to have. I'm not sure many people have it today, but Sarah Makem had it in spades. She was unbelievable. I mean, Davy Hammond of the BBC, God have mercy on him, they came round to tape my grandmother in the 60s, I think. And she recorded 400 songs from memory. 400. That's a lot of songs. And a lot of them were very long.
I was going to say, they wouldn't just be like 3 verses and a chorus.
No. My grandfather used to say that your grandmother's songs were short in the winter. So, she was a walking anthology, really, of songs.
And I suppose then there's the importance of the fact that those songs may have been lost forever. It just takes one sort of link or break in the chain.
You're so right, completely. Well, back in the 50s, the BBC hired a man called Peter Kennedy, an English guy, folklorist. He went around the whole of the British Isles, taping people, the remnants of whatever ballad singers were left, And when he came to Ulster, in the northern part of Ireland, he was joined by a great folklorist who I think whose son is here today, Sean O'Boyle from Armagh, and Sean went along with Peter Kennedy all over Ulster in the 50s taping singers, and they taped Sarah Makem at her house in Victoria Street in Cady, hours upon hours of her singing, and they're now in the BBC archives.
That's brilliant. And how is that? Has it almost been, do you think, part of your career where you feel it's your obligation then to carry those songs on?
Well, I'm not sure you use the word obligation, but it certainly is it's a privilege, you know. But I never set out to do it purposely. It just happened. I mean, things just happen. And myself and my brother Jim, who lives in Canada, we just took this music on. We were very young. We took on all the ballads. A lot of our family didn't, but we just happened to take it. And from we were like 8 or 9 years of age, we were learning loads and loads and loads of songs and ballads. And then we went off to Canada and we did very well there. In the 70s and 80s, living in a place called Halifax, Nova Scotia,
yes,
down the east coast of Canada. We went out there, and at the time we went out there, they were looking for a group to host a television folk program, and they gave us the job. And then we had a TV show there for 16 weeks, and then the following year they renewed it for 32 weeks, and another couple of years, so it was great.
I suppose whenever I say the word obligation, I really mean it's a vocation almost, isn't it?
It is.
You know, and I mean, where do you think that Sarah even got it instilled to her that it was her basically responsibility to archive these songs?
Well, you know, this is a very odd thing about Sarah Makem, and her son Tommy often said it. My grandmother wouldn't have known a folk song if it got up and bit her. I mean, she wasn't no great mission or nothing like that. She just knew all these songs. But Sarah Makem would be as likely to sing you a pop song. You know, I mean, she could sing you an old child medieval ballad like Barbara Allen or Derry Jail or something. Then the next breath sing you a song by Bing Crosby. I mean, she didn't differentiate. I mean, if she enjoyed singing it, she sang it. And the folklorists came along and they sort of weeded out what they didn't need and kept all these magnificent ballads. But Sarah herself, though, she would sing anything, and you know, not anything, but not just Irish ballads. She wasn't aware that she was on some sort of a crusade. That never entered her head at all.
If she was seeing this going on today, where people are sort of, I mean, it's a sold out concert and people are here commemorating her, how do you think she would feel about that?
I think she was a very nonchalant woman. I mean, nothing would have bothered her. I'm reading about her when Tommy and the Clancy, her first time in New York, the Clancy brothers and Tommy were playing Carnegie Hall, you know, and she was a shy sort of a woman, retiring, you know. Anyway, they were in Carnegie Hall for the sold-out concert with Tommy and the Clancy brothers, and I think someone shot a light on her, and please welcome Tommy Makem's mother, and she nearly died, you know. And then, so I think, and she could never understand, for example, from about 1952, 53 onwards, there was a BBC radio programme on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, which went across the whole of Europe and North America. It was called As I Roved Out. And what it was all the recordings made by Peter Kennedy and Sean O'Boyle from all over the country. And they would feature these recordings for an hour on a Sunday morning on the radio. And my grandmother singing As I Roved Out was the theme music. That was the name of the programme. So she became sort of well known across Europe, across North America, Australia, and all these places, you know. And people would send her little letters from Australia, and she didn't quite get it. Well, how the hell would they know me, you know? but they were just playing her records. And she's very modest. She probably enjoyed today, but I don't think she would any great awe about it, you know.
Very good. Well, here, thank you, Tom, for Matt, sharing your stories with us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Looking forward to your performance tonight.
Thank you. God bless.
Cheers.
Thank you.